Liz, thanks for being with us. I know we talked about this conference a couple of weeks ago when you and I and others were here to announce the Weather Photographer of the Year. And look, it's making news already this week with all the heads of state and all the important talks that are going on. I want to just kind of go back a little bit. I think here in the United States, we don't necessarily have the best understanding of what COP is. First of all, COP is a consultation of parties. In other words, it's all the major world leaders coming together on issues. The one that we're concerned with is the United Nations climate change situation, which now is its 26th assembly, goes all the way back to the mid-90s. Yeah. And obviously over the years, there's been some great policy and change and talk. A lot of people go back to the COP in 2015. That was number 21, which is where the Paris Accord came from, the Paris Agreement about limiting things and trying to work towards a world goal of only getting 1.5 degrees in climate change over the next couple of decades as we go to 2030. So took a year off because of the pandemic. This year, and the thing about this is the climate change conference, this COP, has presidency from different regions. It's got to move around every year from what I read. So it happened to be that the UK was presidency of it for the cycle that you guys were supposed to host it in 2020. Obviously, with the pandemic, it got pushed to 2021. And that's why you and world leaders and all the folks are in Glasgow, Scotland here this week to talk about it. Did I do a good job kind of giving it a quick brief there in terms of how to explain it?
Yeah, brilliant. And you're right. It's an annual climate conference. And it moves around the world. This year it's in Glasgow in the UK, and I'm here sat in Glasgow. I've been involved with the last couple of days sessions, and it goes on for 2 weeks. It brings all the nations from around the world to sit around the table to talk about climate change, but particularly talk about how we're going to solve the climate change problem. And as you said, probably the one that most people will be familiar with is the Paris COP event that took place in 2015. And from that, we've got the Paris Accord, which is about how setting a limit. We want to limit global average temperatures to a warming of 1.5 degrees from pre-industrial times. So at the moment, we've seen warming of about 1.1 degrees since pre-industrial, and we want to limit it to 1.5. And this next 2 weeks is about how are we going to achieve that. So the pledge was made in 2015. I see Glasgow as about what action are we now got to take to get to limit that warming to 1.5. And there's a lot of pledges coming in. So there's a lot of countries are pledging that they'll get to net zero by the middle of the century, or China said 2060. We need to see those pledges being made, much quicker than that. I think that's the message that I'm getting over the last couple of days.
Glasgow's an interesting place to have this, because if you look at the history of the world, much of coal burning and that kind of stuff started in that area. And so the emissions into the atmosphere, some could say, are traced to what happened there hundreds of years ago.
When we talk about climate change in the UK, that's a message I keep having to put out there, because if we just look at current emissions, the UK is actually not too bad. But actually, if you look at the accumulations that we have made in the UK, any of the kind of industrial nations have made over the last 150 years, it is phenomenal. So we have put our carbon footprint well and truly in the sand. And we're trying to now make some action, not only to help ourselves, but to help all nations, particularly those developing nations, the ones that haven't really made a big carbon footprint at the moment, but the ones that are probably going to be impacted most by climate change.
The statistics bear what you just set out. I mean, the way that the UK has reduced that carbon footprint, but yet their economy has continued to grow. And I think obviously that's the big yin and yang that we face here in the United States in our discussions about this. Do we immediately get rid of fossil fuels, which a lot of people fear will significantly impact the economy of the United States? But, the UK has given us a blueprint of how to do that in a place that is economically similar to the United States.
Absolutely so. And I think the first message to say is that we're not going to get rid of greenhouse gases overnight. We will see a transition away from fossil fuels to more renewable energy supply. We hope that will happen over this next decade. So we're not going to flick the switch overnight, but it will take a series of maybe 10 years to get us there. But we have to start that process now. And in the UK, we're definitely a good way down that path. So we have pretty much stopped using coal power to generate electricity in the UK. And we've seen a reduction in our greenhouse gas emissions by about 46%. So we've nearly halved our greenhouse gas emissions by moving away from coal and moving to renewables to generate our electricity. And while we've done that, we've seen our economy grow. So the worry of moving away from fossil fuels that we might see a negative impact on the economy has not come to fruition. We've got some bigger challenges. We've still got another 54% of our carbon footprint to remove. But I think, we've made some headway. And I think that's a real positive message for other countries that is possible. It is doable within a kind of period of time, and it can have a positive impact on the economy. I think the aim here is trying to lead by example. We've got COP here in the UK, and we've obviously made some headway. We've still got challenges like everybody else, and we're trying to work out how to do that. But it is a positive message.
Check out the full episode by subscribing to and downloading Everything Under the Sun. Available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts. New episodes every Friday.